Let's focus on situations happening here at home. As of course, we already hear that the protest at the National Assembly is heating up. I understand Peter Obi is also there. However, in the lead up to this protest, Senate President Akpabio over the weekend fired back at critics of the ongoing Electoral Act amendment, accusing some civil society organizations and commentators of abusing the National Assembly without understanding the lawmaking process. He spoke on Saturday at the launch of The Burdens of Legislators in Nigeria, a book by former Senator Effiong Bob, and Akpabio warned that premature judgments by outsiders were undermining democracy. He described some critics as mouth legislators, urging them to contest elections if they wish to engage in lawmaking rather than merely criticize from television studios. Our television studios have suffered. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Electoral Act amendment that is incompleted. We have not completed it, but they are already on television. You see all sort of panels because they don't understand lawmaking. They don't even know that even the one in the Senate is not completed until we look at the votes and proceedings. So when we bring out the votes and proceedings, any senator has a right to rise up and say on clause 3, this was what we agreed upon. And if those who are recording through the verbatim recorder disagree or agree, we amend it before we approve the votes and proceedings. That is the only time you can now talk about what the Senate has done or what the Senate has not done. But already people are on television abusing the Senate, talking about the Senate, even when what we did has not yet been approved by the same Senate.
Our television studios are the problem, apparently. And I wonder what you would have to say about the gathering that's growing right now outside the National Assembly. Ayo, I'll come straight to you on this. Do we need to be lawmakers to comment on the lawmaking process?
And I do say that I applaud the efforts of those who have come out to speak up very boldly against the Senate's decision not to include the mandatory e-transmission of results, real-time transmission of results to the portal, to the IRF portal of INEC, because that has now triggered an emergency plenary called by the Senate President himself. That's what you call active citizenship. And he should not and cannot shame Nigerians for getting involved in the process, in the democratic process, including criticizing or speaking up when it doesn't favor the general consensus. And I think it's very important to establish that. Now, most importantly is what Nigerians are expecting from the senators tomorrow. Let's leave all this talk, you said this, I didn't say this, you are talking, I didn't talk. Let us face the Nigerian people once and for all. We had a guest earlier today, and I thought what he said was very important. Some of the things that we expect is that we don't want voice votes anymore. It's high time Nigerians began to see how their representatives vote on the floor. Let us see which senator is for, which senator is against. Don't forget that the minority caucus of the Senate came out themselves on these platforms to also speak against the proceedings in the Senate. How do we have robust democracy if we don't have an active citizenry who are involved in the process, whether or not they have the information that is regarded? Yes, I believe that everyone should get educated, but it's also important to ensure that voices are not silenced, and where there's displeasure, people feel free enough to express themselves, and that actually triggers action from representatives, as we've now seen. But the most important thing is what happens post tomorrow. Will they reverse themselves? Yes. What's going to happen with regards to the Electoral Amendment Act of 2026? What are they going to put the people first, not their personal interest or party politics? That's the most important thing for Nigerians at this point.
Yep, that's it. Everybody's voice matters. We have so much to get through today. I'm going to quickly fly through to our next story, which takes us to Rivers State. As a minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike had a busy weekend in his home state of Rivers State, where he commissioned the Renewed Hope headquarters as well as a radio station, Majority FM, by the Rivers State Renewed Hope ambassadors in Port Harcourt. He used this opportunity to pass a spiritual message to his detractors about the fate of those who indulge in the act of betrayal.
I must say today, being 7th of February, whoever is watching this program, whether you're a senator, whether a House of Rep member, whether you're a minister, or whether you're a governor, and you support betrayers, people people will continue to betray you in life. Let me say it again. Whether you're a senator, whether you're a member of House of Representatives, whether you're a minister, and whether you're a governor, you sit down and support those who betray. Betrayal is your portion. Betrayal is your portion.
All right, well, the commission projects and spiritual ministrations were not the only talk of the town in Port Harcourt this weekend. Citizens were left in awe as videos of a motorcade allegedly belonging to the minister went viral over the weekend. Well, Dr. Abati, several developments, commissioning of Renewed Hope headquarters, office spaces, Majority FM, the radio station, as well as a message to those who want to imbibe the spirit of betrayal. They shouldn't try it.
Okay, let me start with the radio. Now, the governing, law is the one setting up the Nigerian broadcasting, the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC. If you look at the national, if you look, who is trying to shut me up? If you look at the National Broadcasting Code, now the National Broadcasting Code of Nigeria does not make room for you to register a radio station that is partisan or that is owned by a political party. So to say that Majority FM will be stationed at the campaign unit of the Renewed Hope agenda and will be taking messages from 666 units in Rivers State, that in itself is a problem, because you cannot have a radio station that is so openly partisan. Now, as reference, I would like people to read Mr. Dare Babarisa's book, House of War, 2003, I think that was when it was published, when Mr. Babarisa was a reporter in Ondo State, in Akure, and he was reporting the crisis in Ondo State in, I think, the 1983 election. The federal government had its own radio. The state government had its own radio. This was during the Omobori Owopat. And they were using radio to inflame passions to cross crisis. Now, people should also read the media. And the Rwandan genocide, I think by Alan Thompson, edited by Alan Thompson. How radio was used, the media was used to cause problems in Rwanda at that time. That is why it is dangerous to have any radio station owned by whoever in this country that is political. Now the second issue is Minister Wike is now talking about a radio station. I mean, he has a job in Abuja as Minister of the Federal Republic. You may also say that it's a conflict of interest. If he wants to be actively involved in the running of a radio station, how does that affect his work in Abuja? However, the main summary, the one I'm concerned about, is about giving licenses to media houses that will be used strictly for political purposes. And I've given, academic references in that regard to show that there is a danger there. So NBC has an option to withdraw the license of that openly partisan Majority FM.
Which is then by real quickly on betrayal. It takes a betrayal to know a betrayal.